Dumbledore as prefect? Exploring the Chamber of Secrets? Talking to dragons? We Harry Potter fans love a good theory, and with Hogwarts Legacy still a ways out and seemingly no news in sight, please prove me wrong, Avalanche. It's time to take a look at some of the fan favorite theories out there, and I'll give you my thoughts on how likely they are to happen. Retro Raconteur here. I'm just a dad who loves games and the stories they tell, and at number 1 we have the theory that it's canceled. Wait, what? How did this one get in here? Okay, look, I get it. I decided to include this one in here because this wasn't the only person who said this or some variation of this. I definitely think some people are joking, but then I think there are some people out there who legit think the game is done, the game is canceled. Okay, let's just start with the facts first. The game is not canceled. Does that mean that it will never be canceled? No, there's a chance that any game that hasn't officially released, it could be canceled. So yes, Hogwarts Legacy could be canceled. However, take a look at this tweet from just October 7th, just a week ago, which confirms that Avalanche has just hired a new associate sound designer to work on Hogwarts Legacy. So they are still hiring people, guys. They're still adding people to the project. It is not canceled. It is still being worked on. Does that mean it will 100% never be canceled? No. However, right now, there is absolutely no evidence to point to the game being canceled whatsoever. So it's still happening. Don't panic. Yes, we want some news, though. Number 2, Albus Dumbledore will be our prefect and help us with our introduction to Hogwarts. So yes, I definitely think this one could happen. I don't think it will, though. It is a possibility given the time frame. We've talked about this a number of times, how the game takes place in the late 1800s, and depending on how late they're talking about, there is a chance that Dumbledore could be at Hogwarts. Now, to be completely honest, I would love this. I think it would be fantastic if you show up at Hogwarts and we immediately have that familiar face. I mean, it's going to be much younger, obviously, but we immediately have that familiar connection to the wizarding world, and maybe we can even learn from Albus Dumbledore. However, the reason I don't think they'll go down this path is ultimately I think they want to tell a new story, and I have no evidence for this. It's just kind of my gut feel. I think they want this to kind of stand on its own, and Dumbledore is a character who was so pivotal to the original series and also the Fantastic Beasts series that I think they'll want to be sort of separate from that. They're going to try and do their own thing, is my guess. Now, I would personally be thrilled with it if he is in there. I'm not going to have any problem with that whatsoever. We've talked about how the fact that both Fantastic Beasts and Hogwarts Legacy got delayed, they're now coming out in 2022. Of course, Fantastic Beasts a little bit earlier than we thought, but now that we have a title for that, The Secrets of Dumbledore. How interesting would it be if the game and the movie actually had some sort of tie-in? Look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think if they wanted to blow all of our minds, that would be incredible if they actually had the movie and the game tie in that closely with one another. Number 3, we have that Hogwarts will be open to explore and will be able to make relationships with fellow students. Good news for you, my friend, because this one, I don't think you can call this a theory. I think you can call this pretty much fact. I mean, let's just go straight to the source. Directly on the Hogwarts Legacy website, the first paragraph here says Hogwarts Legacy is an immersive open-world action RPG set in the world first introduced in the Harry Potter books. Now, you can take control of the action and be at the center of your own adventure in the wizarding world. Then we jump down to the very last paragraph at the bottom. Discover the feeling of living at Hogwarts as you make allies, battle dark wizards, and ultimately decide the fate of the wizarding world. But when it comes to open, explorable Hogwarts and making relationships with fellow students, I think you can consider that a 100% lock. Up next, we have this one from Jacob, which says, my favorite theory is being able to get sent to Azkaban. It would be so cool if you got framed or killed someone and got sent there and you have to try and escape. Now, this one's really interesting because of the fact that we pretty clearly see Azkaban in the original trailer. And of course, as a result, we fans want to know why. Why is Azkaban in the trailer? Will we actually be going there at some point? And if so, why? I actually love the idea that if you commit a crime of some sort that you will get sent to Azkaban. However, as multiple fans have pointed out to me, that would kind of break the canon a little bit if we were able to escape. The first person to ever escape from Azkaban was Barty Crouch Jr. However, it wouldn't be known until the public for 13 more years. And of course, we also know about Sirius Black's escape from Azkaban as well. But this is something where I actually think Avalanche could use some of their creative freedom. Remember, Barty Crouch Jr. is the first known escapee. That doesn't mean that there weren't others. And also, when you consider the fact that it took 13 years for someone to realize that he escaped, if they're careful with how they do this in the game, they could actually make it to where it still falls in line with canon. The reason that Barty Crouch Jr. went undiscovered for so long is because his mother, who was already dying, actually convinced Barty Crouch Sr. to use Polyjuice Potion and then switch her for her son, Barty Crouch Jr. Of course, the Dementors, being blind, they only recognize those emotions, those feelings, a healthy person, a dying person. So they see a healthy person going in, Barty Crouch Sr., and a dying person going in, Mrs. Crouch. And then on the way out, they see, again, another healthy person, Barty Crouch Sr., and also a dying person. Now, it's very possible that Avalanche could decide, you know what, that's canon that we don't really want to get involved with, and yet we still have this scene from the trailer which pretty clearly shows that there is something that will take place at Azkaban. So if you have any other theories on Azkaban and why we could be going there, let me know down in the comments below. I have some myself, but I really want to hear from you guys too. Number 5, we have magical creatures. So far, the most convincing theory I've heard about Hogwarts Legacy is actually yours, I think. Well, thank you. The game will focus on magical creatures and laws surrounding them and their rights. That's right, this is a theory. We made a video on this several months ago, and I went through the trailer and talked about all the evidence that points to magical creatures being a very key part of the plot here. We have the villains who are wearing different fangs and pelts and the skulls that they wear on their head. And we also know from all the descriptions of the game, Avalanche keeps talking about our ability to tame fantastical beasts. Magical creatures are just all over the wallpaper. They're all over the trailer. Now, maybe it's only a minor subplot and there's going to be something bigger going on, but I clearly think magical creatures are going to have a big role at some point in this game, if not throughout the entirety of the game. If you want to hear the full theory, then check out the little interactive card in the top right of your screen. But moving on to number 6, my favorite theory is that Retro Raconteur will be one of the main characters. I really hope it's true. I love that guy. Well, thank you, Chicken Wings. I can neither confirm nor deny if I will be in Hogwarts Legacy. Actually, I can confirm that I will not be in the game. Unless, Avalanche, hey. Just saying. Number 7 from Jiggly Wiggly, one of my favorites so far, was from Expecto Go's channel, fellow Hogwarts Legacy YouTuber, by the way. He mentions that the ancient magic you possess might be the ability to talk to or tame dragons. Okay, we know a dragon plays a big role in the trailer, a very large dragon. Then we also had the concept art that released, which showed a baby dragon. So again, this ties a little bit back into my theory about the magical creatures, but this one is specific to that ancient magic. Is it possible that the ancient magic we possess could be the ability to talk to dragons? Or maybe even take it a step further, the ability to tame or even control dragons. Now, if this were the case, there's obviously a lot they can do with this, and there's a precedent for it in the wizarding world. We have Parseltongue, which is a specific ability that lets wizards both talk to snakes and understand snakes. And I gotta be honest, the more I think about this one, the more I like it. The more I think it could actually work. Remember how they talk about this as a secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart? Like, imagine if you have this power and you decide, you know what, okay, I'm gonna control all of the dragons, which would basically make you ridiculously powerful. But in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, someone who had a power like this could just completely obliterate the wizarding world. Again, going back to the main Hogwarts Legacy website, your character is a student who holds the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart. And then later, you possess an unusual ability to perceive and master ancient magic. Only you can decide if you will protect this secret for the good of all, or yield to the temptation of more sinister magic. So maybe our character can do this, yet if you want to be on the good side, you have to keep this from getting out. You can't let anyone else learn how to do this or even know that you can do this, because there'd be so many groups who would be trying to control you if that were the case. And if you're going to be one of those dark wizards out there, then yeah, have fun with the dragons. For number 8, we have my favorite theory is that there is a secret dark wizard cult that controls everything from behind the scenes that you get to confront. So we know about the characters in the trailer that have the masks. So it definitely seems like there is some group or some organization that is working in what appear to be like these little caves. I don't know if it's right outside Hogwarts or if this is going to be taking place somewhere else in the game. But this is something I could totally see happening. Maybe they're even trying to influence the Ministry of Magic and the laws that are getting made. And this would tie in very well to the other theory, my theory about the magical creatures and how their rights and all of that could be a big issue for this game. This sort of dark underlying organization could be trying to affect all of that. And the last two here kind of go hand in hand with one another. The first one, though, if you go down a dark arts route, potentially some form of tie-in or Easter egg with possibly Tom Riddle? And as they mention here, of course, Tom Riddle is going to come much later than the time that this is set to take place. So rather than just saying Tom Riddle Easter eggs on this one, I'm just going to say Harry Potter Easter eggs in general, which I think is going to be a 100% lock. There are certainly going to be things in this game that I think Avalanche will intentionally hide for those diehard Harry Potter fans who have read the books, seen all the movies, to be able to go and find. Now again, because of the timing, I don't know that it will be anything relating specifically to Tom Riddle. However, the next theory is that you will be able to find the Slytherin Vault. Now, by Slytherin Vault, I think they're talking about the Chamber of Secrets here. I'm not sure, maybe there's another Slytherin Vault that I'm not familiar with, but I think they mean Chamber of Secrets here. So again, let's start with the facts here. The Chamber of Secrets will undoubtedly have been built. It's not like it hasn't been built by this point yet. The Chamber of Secrets was created by Salazar Slytherin in the early days of Hogwarts. So there's no denying that it will be there. The only question is, will we be able to get in? Will we be able to explore? And what about that basilisk? Well, if you take a look at the Harry Potter wiki, I thought this section was particularly interesting here. It reads, there was clear evidence that the chamber had been opened more than once between its creation and the 20th century. When it was first created, the chamber was accessed through a concealed trapdoor and a series of magical tunnels. However, when Hogwarts' plumbing became more elaborate in the 18th century, the entrance to the chamber was threatened and was located on the site of a proposed bathroom. The presence in school at the time of a student called Corvinus Gaunt, who was a direct descendant of Slytherin, explained how the simple trapdoor was secretly protected, so that those who knew how could still access the entrance to the chamber even after the newfangled plumbing had been placed on top of it. Now, I know what you're thinking, when did Corvinus Gaunt live? Well, the 18th century actually has him between 1683 and 1783. So the game is set to take place roughly 100 years or so, give or take, after Corvinus was born. So if you're wondering, will we see him in Hogwarts Legacy? I don't think so, at least in terms of a student. Maybe we meet him as a really old man. But if I go with my gut feel here, guys, I do think that there will be something relating to the Chamber of Secrets. I don't know if we'll be able to go in and fully explore it. I definitely think it's possible. But even if we can't go in and fully explore it, I do think there will be at least some Easter egg or something alluding to the presence of the Chamber of Secrets. Now, when it relates to the basilisk, we do know they have insanely long lifespans, over 1,000 years actually. And Salazar Slytherin's basilisk is ultimately killed by Harry Potter, of course, in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So if we do have a run-in with the basilisk, safe to say we will not be defeating it in Hogwarts Legacy. Guys, I have absolutely loved making this video. If you enjoyed it as well, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know which theory was your favorite. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.